Way back at the beginning of this course, I told you I was going to show you how I remove the finish to install the bridge. Now, people use a lot of different techniques to remove the finish. Some people use stripper. I've seen other people just patiently scrape the finish off. I like to route the majority of the finish off with a small Dremel and a router bit, and then I'll use a chisel to kind of clean up the edges. But either way that you do this, the first thing you have to do after laying out the bridge location is to score around it. Let me show you how I do that. After confirming the location of the bridge, I'll tape it down temporarily. Then, as always, check it again, check it a second time, check it a third time. You've got to make sure you've got that alignment correct. I'm going to temporarily attach the bridge with 2 fine thread drywall screws. It's very important that you use fine thread. They're 1 5/8 inch. And then I'm going to pre-drill for those with a device called a VIX bit. A VIX bit is a device that's used in the furniture industry, and it's to self-center a hole. The reason I use a VIX bit is as you drill, you don't want the drill to skate the bridge off the position. This is how I do it. Once I've got the holes drilled, I'll install the fine thread drywall screws. I'm going to screw this in by hand. I'm not going to use a power drill. Once I've got it installed, I'll check the position one more time. Good to go. Now I can remove the tape. Take the bridge off. And using a 4-inch wide piece of blue painter's tape, I'll just lay a piece of tape right where the bridge is going to go. Then screw the bridge back down. Once again, check the position. And everything is lining up correctly. Now that the bridge is affixed to the guitar, I can scribe around the outline of the bridge through the tape, through the finish to mark the outline. To do this, I use a scalpel. I stopped using an X-Acto blade a number of years ago. It's a number 11 scalpel blade in a number 3 handle. I think it does a much better job than an X-Acto knife. When you scribe around the outline of the bridge with the scalpel, you want to push down hard enough so that you go through the tape, through the finish, but you don't want to score the wood too much. Take your time. When you're done scribing, remove the tape where the bridge is. To route off the finish on the top for the bridge, I'm going to use a Dremel router. To set the depth of cut, let me show you how I do that on a test piece of wood. To set the proper depth of cut with the Dremel router base, first, make sure that the cutter isn't touching the finish. Just move it around a little bit. Loosen all your adjustment screws, the top 2 and the bottom 2. Turn the router on, and then turn this knurled knob underneath the tension spring until you get the right depth of cut. Watch. You'll know you've got the right depth of cut when you start to see bare wood appear. Once you've got the depth you like on the practice piece, lock all those settings down. And when you start to do the guitar top, turn the router on before you place it down on the top. What I'm going to do first is to work around the area around the 2 screw holes. I'll blow the finish off frequently, and I want to make sure I'm at the right depth. I'm working 1/8 of an inch inside of the blue painter's tape. You don't need to get any closer than that, as it doesn't make any difference with the chiseling step, which comes up next. I'll move over to the other side of the guitar so I have better access and I can see what I'm doing when I route up to that edge. Now, I suppose you could make a jig to do this if you did a lot of the same type of guitars with the same bridges. I do a lot of different bridge profiles, so that's not going to work for me. I find it easier and quicker to just do this whole process freehand. I'll do the other edge of the bridge, working right up to about 1/8 of an inch, and then at the very end, I'll take a couple of long cuts back and forth to smooth and even out that wood surface where the bridge is going to be glued. Take your time, and again, stay about 1/8 of an inch inside the line of that blue painter's tape. When you're done, this is what it should look like. Note that you've got finish left about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of the blue painter's tape. That's exactly what you want for the next step. Now we'll remove the last bit of finish up to the scribed line. Using a freshly sharpened chisel and holding it at a very low or shallow angle, push it right up to the scribed line, and that finish, or that last bit of finish, should just curl right off. If it doesn't, you may not have made your scribed or score line deep enough with the scalpel, so you may need to come back and redo that. Take your time doing this. This entire process that you're seeing that I'm doing around the entire bridge took about 15 minutes for me to do in real time. Make sure that you're removing just the finish and not any wood. If you have to turn the chisel over and use the other side of it, that's fine. The corners are probably the trickiest. See how I can move right up to that scribed line and remove the finish. Then, using your chisel as a scraper, scrape the finish smooth right up to the scribed line. As I said before, the corners are probably the trickiest. Get the chisel in there and remove all the finish. You can tell you've got more finish to remove when you're using the chisel as a scraper because you'll see a little bit of powder appear. If you see powder, you have to keep scraping. Then finish up just like I did before with the router with kind of long sweeping cuts with the back of the chisel. Once you've chiseled and scraped up to the scribed line as closely as you can and as cleanly as you can, take a piece of corian with some 150 grit sandpaper stuck to it and sand the inside perimeter of that wood as smooth as you can. Once you've sanded it, check the fit of your bridge. Hopefully, yours is as perfect as mine is. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I'll glue this bridge on, wait a couple days. I'll string it up, and then we'll see you at the end of that for some final thoughts.